Friday the 15th of July. I'm going to try and do 2 quick ones because it's quite late because the kids haven't been going to bed. So, quickie, in the press today, not national press, but the Selby Times. That's not me on the front, by the way. I'm not an alleged child rapist. Thank goodness. But not a bad little bit in there with a picture of me amazingly not looking like an idiot. And then also, don't know if you can see them, stupid thing, I'd actually just been the post office when I popped into the offices of the Selby Times to pick up some samples from a gentleman named Andrew Watson, who is, I think he started the British Bourbon Society on Facebook, and we've been sharing a few samples back and forth in amongst various people in the group, and he had a few which he sent, of which this is one, which is OGD 114, because I found on Facebook that particularly with bourbon there's a lot of acronyms and code words and all sorts of things like that, but OGD 114, you've seen the title already, it's Old Grandad 114 proof. So, Old Grandad is from the Jim Beam distillery, which is in Claremont, Kentucky, which is here. Jim Beam is owned by Beam Suntory, and Old Grandad actually refers to a person who has another bourbon named after him, which I've had previously, and it's a good bourbon, very, very easy drinking, called Basil Hayden. And Old Grandad is actually Basil Hayden, not the whiskey. Old Grandad is the name of Basil Hayden. It was created in the mid 1800s by a guy called Raymond B. Hayden, who was Basil's grandson, and he created that the Haydens had a distillery which is long gone, sort of no ties to Jim Beam as such, but he created this Old Grandad brand as a sort of in honour of his grandfather, who was a bit of a bourbon pioneer. So over the years, as Beam sort of got bigger, they ended up purchasing the brand name for Old Grandad, and then they launched. Old Grandad's been going for a number of years, but they only launched Basil Hayden in 1992. So it's actually Basil Hayden's, even though that's his name, that's the younger brand to the Old Grandad. It is it's available as a standard version. An 80 proof. It was until 2010 86 proof, but they knocked it down to 80. They do a bottled in bond version, which is one where they store it in federally owned warehouses. That's 100 proof, so that's 50% ABV. And then there's this one, which is their barrel proof, 114 or 57%. This is what the bottle looks like. The standard Old Grandad is a bit taller and thinner with a bright orange label, whereas this is a bit stumpy and a bit more subdued. It's now Basil Hayden himself was sort of known for being one of the first bourbon, or first, not necessarily bourbon, but first distillers to use quite a high rye content, and this does have quite a high rye content. It is a Kentucky straight bourbon, so it's over 51% corn. It's actually, I've got this written down, 63% corn, 27% rye, and 10% barley. So for a bourbon, that's quite a high rye content. So that high rye content, coupled with the higher alcohol percentage as well, should, I'm guessing, give this a bit of a kick indeed. And yes, it does. It does indeed have a bit of a kick. I've got some water ready because I've got a feeling I'm going to need this, because I think it's going to be on the hot side as well. Now, on Grandad, I can remember buying the original one, the 80 proof. In fact, it may even have been the 86, because it was about 4 years ago when we were in Florida for Vicky's dad. It was, I think, the first year that we'd gone out there with our eldest daughter. So she was 9 months at the time, not even 9 months old when we first took her out there, and we saw Old Grandad, and it was like, well, we have to get in there. And I think I managed to get half a glass out of him before he drank it. I don't even know if he liked it. I don't even know if he drank it had it long enough in his mouth to even know whether he liked it or not. It just went, oh, it's whiskey, I'll drink it, and it's gone. So I don't think we've bought him the 114, and it'll probably give him a bit of a surprise with that extra alcohol proof. But yeah, ooh, it's hot. It's hot on the nose. Spicy, very spicy rye. And it is almost like a spicy Indian spiciness, like a hot curry. We're getting into like chili powder territory here. We're getting cardamom and chili powder and slightly aniseedy as well. A little bit too hot for my liking, to be honest. There is some underlying fruit, but it's quite hidden, to be honest. It's masked by the heat of the alcohol and then the heat of the spiciness that's in there. Actually, on the palate, it is hot, but it's nowhere near as hot as I thought it was going to be. I was expecting it to have real fire to it. That sort of chili powdery thing that's on the nose, very mild. What is there is very, very mild. It's still got a kind of like a hot Indian curry spiciness, but it's really held back. It's really diluted, and I don't mean that in a bad way. It's actually quite pleasant. Neat. This is a lot more drinkable than I thought it was going to be, particularly after taking the nose as well. There's quite a toffee note to it as well. A real sort of fudgy toffee character. It's almost like, and I've never come across this, and I'm surprised I haven't, because you get chili and chocolate together, but you never get like fudge and chocolate. And this is almost like a chocolate covered toffee with chili flakes in it. I'm going to try a drop of water in, but that's way more drinkable than I thought it was going to be. In terms of the age of this, to be honest, I don't really know. I couldn't really find any anywhere that was giving me the age. It's a non-age statement. 5-year-old, I'm going to guess. I'm going to throw that out there. It's not particularly young. There's enough depth in there which suggests to me that it's got some aging on it, but I don't think it's pushing 10. I'm going to go maybe 6 to 8, something like that. That would be my guess in terms of the average age that's in there, because I think there's a combination of different ages. This says it is released as barrel proof at 114, but that's giving it a consistent proof, so they're going to be using different barrels to maintain that alcohol percentage to then market it as barrel proof. See, that's better on the nose, but it's quite toffee-ish. I'm surprised. And you know what? To be honest, adding the water to it has actually detracted slightly. I think I almost preferred it without water. It's hot, but it's actually a drinkable hot. It's surprisingly good. And that drop of water's just knocked the edge off it, and it's just lost the character that I had beforehand. I'll be honest, that's a lot better than I thought it was going to be. You're looking at about $25 for that. I couldn't find how much it was in the UK. The Whisky Exchange do list it, but they had it as out of stock and they don't actually show the price. I would have thought about 50 quid probably in the UK, but to be perfectly honest, 25 quid for a barrel proof bourbon is a good price. And $25 barrel proof bourbon, excellent price. For that barrel proof bourbon, that's actually really good for $25. I'm impressed with that. Surprised me, really has surprised me. Yes, definitely give that a go. If you can find that, particularly if you can find it for about $25, it's well worth picking up. Andrew, thank you for that. I've got a couple of others from you that I'm looking forward to trying. They'll be in the next couple of days because I haven't got many Americans left. So I'm going to do a quick rinse out and then we will go for another barrel proof bourbon. So I'll see you in the next one. Cheers.